Hello Vita, today we are discussing about your last chapter of this semester, your second book on the face of it, written by Susan Hill, is an English English author of fiction and non-fiction work. Her novels include The Woman in Black, The Mist of the Mirror, and I Am the King of the Castle, for which she received the Somerset Maugham Award in 1971. On the face of it, introduction to the lesson, the story is about a teenage boy named Derry who has a blunt face and Mr. Lamb who is a disabled old man with an artificial leg made of tin. Derry accidentally enter his garden so that he can hide himself from people who hate him because of his ugly face. Mr. Lamb not only welcomes him in his garden but also encourages him to lead a normal life, leaving behind his past. Okay? And then your lesson, scene first. This lesson is divided in three scenes. Mr. Lamb's garden. There is the occasional sound of bird song and of tree leaves rustling. Rustling means whisper, low sound. Daddy's footsteps are heard as he walks slowly and tentatively. Tentatively means hesitatingly, without confidence. Through the long grass, he pauses, then walks on again. He comes round a screen of bushes, and so that when Mr. Lamb speaks to him, he is close at hand and Derry is startled. Startled means feeling a sudden shock. The narrator describes the setting of scene first. The location, Lamb's garden. One can occasionally hear the birds singing and the low sound of the tree leaves. Derry, a young boy, enters the garden hesitatingly. When he comes out of the bushes, he is surprised to hear Mr. Lamb talking to him. Mr. Lamb, mind the apples. Derry, what? Who is that? Who is there? Mr. Lamb, Lamb's my name. Mind the apples. Crab apples. Those are windfalls in the long grass. You could trip. Derry, I thought this was an empty place. I didn't know there was anybody here. Mr. Lamb, that's alright, I am here. What are you afraid of, boy? That's alright, Daddy. I thought it was an empty house. Mr. Lamb, so it is since I am out here in the garden, it is empty. Until I go back inside, in the meantime, I am out here and likely to stop a day like this. Beautiful day, not a day to endure. Daddy, panic. I have got to go. Crab means a small store apples and windfall means an unexpected gain, a jackpot. Mr. Lamb warns him about the crab apples that usually fell in the long grass from the tree above. Derry was shocked on hearing a voice. He asked as to who it was. Mr. Lamb introduced himself and also said that small shore apples known as crab apples and had fallen on the ground. If Derry would not be careful while walking through the grass, he could trip over them and get hurt. Derry said that he didn't know that someone was present in the garden. He thought it to be empty and even the house seemed empty to him. Mr. Lamb tried to comfort him by saying that the house was empty as he was out in the garden. He also asked him not to be afraid. Derry wanted to leave the place. Mr. Lamb, not on my account. I don't mind who comes into the garden. The gates always open. Only you claimed the garden ball. Derry. You were watching me, Mr. Lamb. I saw you, but the gates open. All welcome. You are welcome. I sit here. I like sitting. Derry. I would not come to steal anything, Mr. Lamb. No, no. The young lad still scrambles the apples. You are not so young, Derry. I just wanted to come into the garden, Mr. Lamb. So you did. Here we are. Then, Derry, you don't know who I am. Mr. Lamb, a boy, 13 or so. Derry, 14. Pause. But I have got to go now. Goodbye. Mr. Lamb, nothing to be afraid of. Just a garden, just me. Derry, but I am not afraid. Pause. People are afraid of me. Mr. Lamb, why should that be? Derry, everyone is. It doesn't matter who they are, or what they say, or how they look, how they pretend. I know, I can see. Mr. Lamb, see what? Derry, what they think. Mr. Lamb, what do they think then? Derry, you think here is a boy. You look at me and then you see my face and you think that's bad. That's terrible thing. That's the ugliest thing ever saw. You think, poor boy, but I am not. Not underneath. You are afraid. Anybody would be. I am when I look in the mirror and see it, I am afraid of me. Scrump means steal from the garden. Pretend means to behave as if something is true when you know that it is not. Underneath means directly below. Mr. Lamb tried and to stop him and said that there was no need to leave the garden just because of him. He also told him that he kept the gate open for the people. It was only Derry who jumped the wall. Derry got angry for being pointed at like that. He also clarified that he had not come to steal anything from there, and Mr. Lamb agreed by saying that at many times apples had been stolen by young boys, and the dairy was not so young. But still, Derry wanted to leave. Mr. Lamb told him not to be afraid of him and asked him to stay there for a while. Derry told him that he was not afraid of anyone, rather, people were afraid of him. Lamb asked him the reason for that. He told him that he knew what people thought and how they behaved in front of him. Mr. Lamb questioned him about what other thought of him. Derry said that people got scared on seeing his face. Some consider it bad or ugly, while some even took pity on him by saying that he was a poor boy. He added that they were fake. Actually, they all were afraid of his face. He even got scared of his own face when he looked into the mirror. He added that Mr. Lamb will also pity him, but in his heart he will also be scared of death. Mr. Lamb, no, not the whole of you, not of you, Larry, yes. Pause. Mr. Lamb, later on, when it is a white collar, I will get the ladder and a stick and pull down those crab apples. They are ripe for it. I make jelly. It is good time of year, September. Look at them, orange and golden. That a magic fruit. I often say, but it is best picked and made into jelly. You could give me a hand, Harry. Derry, what have you changed the subject for? People always do that. Why don't you ask me? Why do you do what they all do and pretend it is not true and isn't there in case I see you looking and mind and get upset. I will tell you, don't ask me because you are afraid too. Mr. Lamb, you want me to ask, say, so then, Derry, I don't like being with people, any people. Mr. Lamb, I should say, to look at it, I should say you got burned in a fire. Derry, not in a fire, I got acid all down that side of my face and it burned it all away. I ate my face up, it ate me up, and now it is like this, and it won't ever be any different. Mr. Lamb said that he was not afraid of Derry. Derry was shocked to hear that. Then Mr. Lamb told him that he would bring a ladder and stick and pick fine and ripe crab apples as they made a good jelly. He told also him that in September they got ripe and become a magic fruit having orange and golden color. He also asked him to join him in doing so. Derry pointed him for changing the topic just like other people's did. He added that Mr. Lamb, just like other people, just like him, about his face because he was afraid of asking about it. Derry got annoyed and said that he did not like the company of people. Mr. Lamb guessed that maybe his face got burnt in some fire. Derry told him that it was due to acid and that had burned half of his face. He was so grieved, so sad that he kept on repeating that acid ate his face and that it would never get cured. Mr. Lamb, no. Derry, are not you interested? Mr. Lamb, you are a boy who came into the garden. Plenty too. I am interested in anybody, anything. There is nothing God made that doesn't interest me. Look over there, over beside the far wall, or what can you see? Derry, a rubbish. Mr. Lamb, a rubbish. Look, boy, look. What do you see? There is just grass and stuff, weeds. Mr. Lamb, some call them weeds. If you like, then a weed garden that there is a fruit and there are flowers and trees and herbs all sorts, but over there weeds. I grow weeds there. Why is one green growing plant called a weed and another flower? Where is the difference? It is all going same as you and me. Derry, we are not the same. Mr. Lamb, I am old. You are young. You are young. You have got burn face, I have got a tin leg. Not important. You are standing, I am sitting here. Where is the difference, Derry? Why have you got a tin leg? Mr. Lamb, a rear one got blown off years back. Lammy lamb, some kids say, haven't you heard them? You will lammy lamb, it splits. Doesn't trouble me. Derry, but you can put on trouser and cover it up and no one says. They don't have to notice and stare, Mr. Lamb. Some do, some don't. They get tired of it in the end. There is plenty of other things to stare at. Derry, like my face, Mr. Lamb, like crab apples or the weeds or a spider climbing up a silken ladder. My tall sunflowers. Weed means unplanted one, stare means to look at. Mr. Lamb did not agree with him. Derry thought that he was not interested in his story. To this, Mr. Lamb said that he was interested in each and every creation of God. He pointed out at a wall and asked him what did he see beyond it. Derry replied that there were weeds or unwanted plants. Mr. Lamb explained that there were a number of plants in his garden. There were flowers, trees, herbs. Some plants were considered good and some were called unwanted plants. It was not because they were different, all of them were green in color. It was about how people consider them to be herbs or weeds. In really, they all they all were same, just like Daddy and himself. Daddy did not agree to this. Mr. Lamb told him that there was no difference. He was young, Mr. Lamb was old. He had a burned face, Mr. Lamb had a tin leg. These things were not so important, and so they didn't make any difference. Derry asked him the reason behind his tin leg. He replied that it got damaged in an explosion many years ago. Kids teased him by calling him Lammy Lamb. Derry said that he could cover the tin leg with his trouser so that no one could see it. Mr. Lamb said that it did not bother him much, as one day people would get tired of teasing him and would start discussing something else. Derry showed his face and replied to Lamb's statement, and Mr. Lamb suggested that things like crab apples, weeds, spiders, and the tall sunflower could also be some of the other things that people would probably look at and discuss. Derry thinks, Mr. Lamb, it is our relative Beauty and the Beast. Derry, what is that supposed to mean? Mr. Lamb, you tell me, Derry, you need not think they have not all told me that fairy story before. It is not what you look like, it is what you are inside. Handsome is as handsome does. Beauty loved the monstrous beast for himself, and when she kissed him, he changed into a handsome prince. Only he wouldn't. He had have steered a monstrous beast. I won't change, Mr. Lamb, in that way. No, you won't, Daddy, and no one will kiss me ever. Only my mother, and she kisses me on the other side of my face, and I don't like my mother to kiss me. She does it because she has to. Why should I like that? I don't care if nobody ever kisses me. Mr. Lamb, what do you care if you never kiss them? Daddy, what? Mr. Lamb, girls, pretty girls, long hair and large eyes, people you love. Daddy, who would let me? Not one. Mr. Lamb, who can tell you? Monstrous means horrible. Derry commented that the other things mentioned by Mr. Lamb were things, they were non living. Mr. Lamb replied that all the things were related to each other, just like beauty is related to beast and beautiful creation is related to ugliness. Derry was confused, and Mr. Lamb asked for Derry's opinion. Derry replied that often he had heard people saying that beauty is not related to one's appearance, rather, inner beauty is our real beauty. Even a handsome man is the one who does something good rather than one who looks good. He said that once a beautiful girl loved a beast for who he was and kissed him, which turned the beast into a handsome prince. He wouldn't have changed if she had not kissed him. But then he said that he won't change. Mr. Lamb said that Derry was right at that time. Derry said that no one would kiss me ever because of his face. Even his mother kissed him on the good side of his face. He didn't like this at all. He said he didn't care even if anybody kissed him. And Mr. Lamb asked him that did Derry ever want to kiss someone? Derry asked him what he was talking about. Mr. Lamb said that probably Derry wanted to kiss pretty girls who had long hair and large eyes and other people who Derry loved. Derry replied that no one would ever allow him to do so. Mr. Lamb said that this was unpredictable. Derry, I won't ever look different. When I am as old as you, I will look the same. I will still only have half a face, Mr. Lamb. So you will, but the world won't. The world got a whole face and the world there to be looked at. Daddy, do you think this is the world, this old garden? Mr. Lamb, when I am here, not the only one, but the world as much as anywhere. Daddy, does your leg hurt you? Mr. Lamb, tin doesn't hurt boy. Daddy, when I came off, didn't it, Mr. Lamb? Certainly, Daddy, and now I mean where the tin stop at the top. Mr. Lamb, now and then in bad weather it doesn't signify. Daddy, oh, that's something else. Look at all those people who are in pain and brave and never cry and never complain and don't feel sorry for themselves. Mr. Lamb, I haven't said that, Daddy. And think of all those people, rows of them you think you might have been blinded, born deaf, have to live in a wheelchair, or with debt in your head and dribble. Mr. Lamb, and that's all true, and you know that. Signify means be a sign of, draft means silly or foolish, and dribble means to fall slowly. Derry said that he will never look different when he will be as old as Mr. Lamb. Then also he will have only half a face. Mr. Lamb said that. Yes, he will always have half a face, but the world was full so many things to look at, so he must look at its beauty. Derry questioned him, that was the garden, the whole world for him. And Lamb said that when he was present in the garden, then the garden was his world. He then questioned him whether his leg hurt. Lamb replied that tin didn't hurt, it never pained. Derry asked him if he suffered pain when he lost his leg. Lamb said that it pained back then. He then asked him if it pained now where the artificial leg stuck into the real one. Lamb said that sometimes it pained in bad weather, but it was not that important. Derry said he could understand what he meant by all this, as he had heard people saying that you should take a lesson from those who suffer in pain and never cry or complain about their problems. Mr. Lamb said that he didn't say so. Derry continued that people told him to look at those people who were in worse condition than him. They told him that he might have become blind, born deaf, be handicapped and have to remain in a wheelchair. He may even have been born with mental disorder. And Mr. Lamb said that yes, it was true and that Daddy knew so much. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.